Ladies and gentlemen, today we are looking at a moment that is larger than one city, one border, one nation, or one crisis cycle. When Ukraine conducts a deblockading operation and restores the supply routes to Myrnihred, that action is not only a local recovery event. It is a strategic signal to the entire world about what supply chain freedom actually means in the modern century. Because in this century, power is not just territory. Power is mobility. Power is access. Power is connection. Myrnihred supply routes reopening means thousands of tons of humanitarian assistance. Medical support, civil resources, industrial energy, food and relief can once again flow without artificial disruption. These are not just trucks moving. These are arteries that carry life. These are corridors that keep cities alive, economies breathing and civilians stable. This operation also shows something extremely important for global geopolitics, that modern conflict is not simply about force. It is about resilience engineering. It is about denying breakdown. It is about securing continuity even in pressure. It is about telling the world that infrastructure can still stand back up, even if it was temporarily blocked. Humanitarian benefit is not symbolic here, it is measurable. Families can receive medicine, hospitals can maintain treatment, schools can restart distribution, businesses can resume activity. The invisible stress load on society drops when supply chains breathe again. And long-term, this single act becomes a case study for stability theory, because every future conflict region, every future disaster zone, and every future emergency management researcher will study cases like this to understand how reopening a single corridor can shift national confidence, economic recovery speed, and diplomatic negotiation posture. So in conclusion, Myrnihred is more than a route. It is a message. It is a reminder that supply chain freedom is not an abstract idea. It is a human right foundation for modern states. When those routes are restored, the world sees that stability is possible again, even after disruption. Distinguished listeners, colleagues, analysts and policy observers, today we examine Ukraine's restoration of the Myrnihred supply chain access through a strategic deblockading operation, not merely as a moment of tactical progress, but as a blueprint case in 21st century logistics sovereignty. Because when a nation restores a supply corridor under pressure, the world sees more than a line on a map. The world sees the internal logistics architecture that was built intelligently behind it. Layered redundancy, multi-node routing, multi-agency synchronization, timing discipline, staging buffers, railroad interlinking, and data-informed route risk calculation. The success of this deblockade illustrates that modern supply operations are not reactive trucking. They are engineered like a living distributed network, flexible, intelligent, and self-healing. But this technical success exists inside a diplomatic balancing space. Ukraine has had to rebuild access while simultaneously maintaining responsible signaling to regional actors, international partners, organizations, neutral observers, and humanitarian monitors. Deblockade without escalation, restoration without provocation. It is a very narrow corridor to walk, and this makes the accomplishment even more strategically valuable. The economic implications are also extremely real. Every single reopened corridor reduces cost of distribution, reduces market panic, restores transaction flow velocity, stabilizes commodity expectation, and lowers inflationary anxiety. An open supply artery means the country can reduce internal compression pressure. The faster goods move, the faster confidence returns. Economists always say, cost is friction. Removing blockade friction is value creation in direct form. Finally, this moment affects future regional security frameworks. Because future planners will study this not only as a Ukrainian recovery model, but as a template for post-disruption normalization in conflict-adjacent environments everywhere. Strategic security in the future will not only be measured by defensive lines, it will also be measured by how fast a nation can restore circulation. So this operation is not just Ukraine regaining access to Myrnihred. It is a demonstration that secure supply autonomy is becoming one of the central new pillars of modern strategic power. Ladies and gentlemen, today when the world is watching Ukraine, we are not simply watching another headline on a breaking ticker. We are not observing another territorial update in the modern battlefield of geopolitics. We are witnessing a living demonstration of a nation proving that resilience is a power that cannot be blockaded, a power that cannot be trapped, a power that cannot be delayed, a power that cannot be frozen by siege force or pressure. When Ukraine conducted its deblockading operation and restored the Mirnorad supply routes, the world saw something that is much more important than a simple route reopened. We saw the reactivation of national movement. We saw the transition from stuck to flow. We saw the conversion of blocked energy into live rebooted mobility. We saw hope physically turning into road access. This is not just military or logistics or strategic transport restoration. This is literally the return of circulation, the return of oxygen, the return of national blood flow to a living organism that refuses to die. When a supply route is blocked, it is not just trucks stopped. It is not just goods paused. It is not just containers halted. A blocked supply route is a blocked future. A blocked supply route is a blocked possibility. A blocked supply route is the symbolic choking of a nation's mobility, a squeezing of its economic chest, a compression of its humanitarian lung, a pressure around its national breathing. And when Ukraine reopened this Mirnorad route through a deblockading operation, what they proved to the world is that Ukraine is a nation that chooses future breath over suffocation, future access over stagnation, future motion over paralysis, future freedom over constraint. This is the spirit of a people who know that movement itself is survival. And there is something deeply inspiring and deeply universal in this moment. Because supply routes in the modern world are not just logistics infrastructure. They are actually psychological infrastructure. They are emotional infrastructure. They are moral infrastructure. They are symbolic infrastructure. They represent what we allow to move in our lives, what we allow to connect, what we allow to circulate, what we allow to arrive, what we allow to expand, what we allow to grow. When a nation regains the ability to move, it regains the ability to decide its own direction. When a nation regains movement, it regains authorship of its own tomorrow. When a nation regains supply chain flow, it regains the capability to construct a future without permission from its enemies. Movement is independence. Ukraine's reopening of Mirnorad supply routes is a message that Ukraine is not waiting for the future to be delivered to them. Ukraine is constructing the future themselves. They are not begging destiny to be kind to them. They are shaping destiny through operational will. They are not relying on external permission. They are unlocking flow by action. That is resilience, not theory resilience, not academic resilience, not motivational poster resilience. Real resilience, real applied resilience, real operational resilience.